This video and many more are made possible by viewers like you. If you enjoyed, please consider liking, subscribing, and supporting via ko-fi.com/BrandonTate77.
Hey everyone, it's Brandon, and I'd like to open this video with a little bit of a story. In the first days of my wanting to take being a musician at least somewhat seriously, for some strange reason I once found myself wandering in a very dark forest. As I walked through the forest, I kept coming across seemingly random pieces of paper pinned to the trees. At first I couldn't decipher what was on these pages, but I could tell they were connected in some way, so I sought to find and gather more of them. But I also just started getting a weird feeling that something was just lingering and following me through the forest. But as I located that last page, I realized only then what was the horror that was following me through the forest. What? No, it wasn't some weird, cosmic supernatural entity. What are you thinking? No. In this story, the real horror was written on the pages themselves, something that every musician with extremely lofty ambitions dreads to see in front of them. Thankfully, I survived this very spooky ordeal in the forest, and then I promptly got a job. However, even as I started my first real job out of college, I realized I had a problem. I still didn't have anything to list on a resume as work experience. I then realized I also had the same problem in being so heavily invested in music pursuits. Thus, I would need to put something together if I wanted to hit the Denver music scene to find other musicians to play with and build my skills further, and just to have something to show for it all. And so in this video, we're gonna go through all the key assets that I've made a part of my musician portfolio and what I think you can do to get the best out of making a portfolio for yourself with at least some of the things that I'll mention here today. Now obviously this applies to all fields of work, but especially for musicians, I think having some sort of online resume portfolio thing that you can treat as an evergreen project to build upon is an often overlooked yet super invaluable thing for opening new doors to welcome and plenty times often unexpected new opportunities, or at least that's how I felt about what my portfolio has done for me with the work that I put into it. Lastly, this video as a whole was inspired by a set of video advertisements I ran fairly recently, as I've been looking to perform more often again starting in 2026. Aside from hopefully lining up some fun band projects, I got a sizable amount of just really fun feedback from those video ads alone with how they were put together. Simply put, those video ads were a direct result of the time and work that I put towards building a portfolio as a musician. All right, before we begin, another day, another set of disclaimers on a long-form video from me. Disclaimer number 1. Look, I'm no professional career counselor or even a full-on professional musician for that matter. I am just another Joe Schmo musician here on the internet. All of what I'm presenting in this video are portfolio items that I thought were worth the time to create and have worked for me in a number of ways during my searching for various music projects in the past and currently as well. If you're a musician out there trying to put some pieces together before you present yourself to your local scene or the world for that matter, my hope with this video is that you can at least take one useful thing away from it to help further yourself along. Disclaimer 2, I'm not sponsored by any of the tools, products, platforms, such and such that I use to make my musician portfolio, but I will touch on why I think they worked well for me to do so. Disclaimer 3, while I feel what I talk about in this video are things that have worked wonders for me trying to pursue music stuff as if it were a full-time job, please understand there's no concrete way to individually measure your success as a musician or how far you'll go even if you put some serious work into a beefed up portfolio. Disclaimer 4. While I am primarily presenting this video detailing things that you should include in your portfolio as a musician based on my own personal 10+-ish years of work in music, I've also formed some very strong opinions on this subject at large. So I'm going to address some things that I think you should not do when you put your musician portfolio together. As I went along with writing the script for this video, I really found myself embracing my inner Glenn Fricker throughout, and you're going to see a lot of that through this video. Lastly, disclaimer 5, and because I am going to get my licks in, let's start off strong. I am very thrilled to say that you can easily put together a good-looking musician portfolio without the use of generative AI. What an amazing concept. And because you will put together your musician portfolio without using AI art slop, you won't look like a complete another goofball from the get-go when you go looking for music projects. Okay, I'm going to try and keep it under control for this video, but don't worry, I have plenty more swipes that I want to take at generative AI in the arts, and not just in this video. So let's begin. The first and probably one of the most important things that I think you should have in a musician portfolio: videos of yourself playing your instrument. Not to get too far ahead in this video, but there's been plenty of times I've opened up social media to see someone advertising themselves in musician groups and forums online, stating what instruments they play and for who knows how long. Okay, like, cool, that truly is great and all. You should actually be proud of what you can do on your instrument. What do you have to immediately show for that? I think having a catalog of videos on hand to showcase your musical abilities pretty much is an absolute must in the modern day. Simply think of it as talking the talk and walking the walk, or actions speaking louder than words. A simple few lines of text in an ad or a social media post are going to get lost in an ocean of other musicians posting the same exact way as you if you do it that way. So videos of you performing your instrument in some way or another will help you to stick out at least a little bit more. Well, this applies for musicians all around. I'd also reckon that this matters maybe a bit more for vocalists. Depending on the nature of the project that you're trying to join or audition for, you definitely want to make sure you're the right fit for something, and having videos of yourself can give other people a look in advance if you're potentially right for the job. Thankfully, there's a few fun ways you can stack a collection of videos for yourself to share publicly. Obviously, the biggest way that I'd say to do this: upload to YouTube. I've stated this at least once before, that in a perfect world, every musician, especially at the local level, should be uploading to YouTube with some level of consistency. Now, you don't have to wait this long, but at least a year before I was seeking out bands to play in, I was uploading covers to YouTube first. This has always been my bread and butter for wanting to push myself further as a musician, and looking back, in some ways, doing covers on YouTube helped me to even bypass having to do some auditions for bands, though you should never treat having videos on hand as something that will get you past a required audition. The biggest thing I think also supports uploading to YouTube as a musician is how you can fire and forget with your uploads. Chuck them up, let them sit there and accumulate views. And you do this even if it's a slow grind to see any results. Trust me, I've been fighting that war for a long time. But in taking this fire and forget approach to just uploading videos and having them at the ready in your portfolio, it does open up the possibility for opportunities to arise from places that you may not even expect, even at the local level. I feel at least some of those unexpected instances have happened for me a few times in the past, and my involvement in nearly every music project here in the Denver music scene has always been a direct result of the work that I put into creating cover videos on YouTube first. Hey, even some of the long-form videos with that too. A silver lining that's also helped to keep me going in music is a few instances where I've played out live and I've had people come up to me and say that they came to that particular show because of what they saw me doing on YouTube first. Meant the world to me. Unfortunately, and at least twice now, I have attempted and promised to create a step-by-step guide on how I create my cover videos for YouTube, and I have failed to do it every single time. While I still strongly believe that uploading to YouTube is the best way to get videos together for your musician portfolio, I'm just not the one to explain the finer details of how to do it. But thankfully, there's a ton of tutorials out there from other music content creators here on YouTube on how you can get started on the YouTube grind. But because YouTube also presents the possibility of having to deal with silly types of comments, I understand that it's not for everyone, so let's talk about some other methods you can use in place of YouTube to make sure that your videos are at least available for viewing in your musician portfolio, as much as I disagree with doing it this way. There was a time where I used to have some cover videos that I intended to upload to YouTube, and they would get nuked from orbit even before I got to hit publish. So instead, I kept a Google Drive folder on hand for all of those videos that couldn't be on YouTube, though that's gotten a little more friendlier in recent years, I believe. But other cloud storage options, platforms like Dropbox and things, could also work for this. Now, the unfortunate caveat here is that unlike YouTube, you're on the hook for how much storage space you'll have available and how much you may be willing to pay for, so choose that according to your needs. Regardless of whatever way you want to slice it for getting videos into a portfolio type of deal, another key point of note with doing it this way online, uploading online that is that you're going to have some links that you'll be able to share out to others, but more on this later. On another front, if you've already played live with other people, or if you maybe just at least go out on your own to something like an open mic event, definitely gather up some footage of you performing live. With most live music venues, I'm fairly certain that you can find a relatively unobstructed spot where you can set up your phone or a video camera while you perform and have it, just sit there on a video recording the whole time. I definitely haven't gotten the most glamorous footage doing this, but it's something you can also have on hand if recording something at home isn't your thing, or maybe just isn't readily feasible for you to do. Personally for me, I also make note of people in crowds who have their phones out and are recording when I'm on stage, and I absolutely will track them down at shows after I'm done performing to meet them and find a way to get a hold of whatever recordings they shot on their phones. Now, obviously, of course, if you do this, please just be nice to people and be respectful. Yes, you do want your super cool live performance videos from a crowd point of view, but it's also about building good connections while you're at it. To wrap up this section of the video, I'd like to offer some final miscellaneous tips for when you go to record videos for your musician portfolio. Now, obviously, I shoot my cover videos with 4, sometimes 5 camera angles simultaneously, and I edit them all together as I see fit. However, if there is one single camera angle that I would say you should absolutely use when creating cover videos for your musician portfolio, whether you're doing it at home or at a live venue setting, it's the same camera angle you see me here on camera, well, right now. Your instrument of choice should be fully in frame. And for that matter, your face too, which I can guarantee is much more beautiful than mine. Don't try to record videos for your musician portfolio on an empty stomach. I am dead serious saying this. I am acutely aware of the cover videos that I have posted on YouTube where I probably should have waited to film them after I ate a good meal first. And while I understand capturing the perfect take on video, play what you can actually play live. Don't force yourself into presenting a version of yourself that is way too above your actual skill set. There has been a lot of talk lately amongst musicians on YouTube about what it means to represent yourself authentically if you're doing the whole video thing. And the rule that I've always followed is that the covers that I upload on YouTube should be a representation of what I can actually play live and vice versa. But that's also with enough practice time beforehand prior to shooting a video at the time that I choose to upload them. And for you putting videos together in your portfolio, be okay with where you are in that time as a musician. You can see it in my back catalog of videos prior to this video going out. I have never been a super highly technical shredder type dude on guitar, and much of me at my core is very okay with this. Speaking as someone who's done YouTube covers for the majority of my time performing music, if you get a copyright takedown or other restriction on a video, just bite the bullet and move on. You're not going to win that battle. There's so much more material that you could try to include in your portfolio that is less likely going to be taken down, but that's always a gamble. Lastly, whether you are building your catalog of musician portfolio videos with at-home or live stage footage, if you also use generative AI to do it, I and many others will absolutely have no problem laughing you out of the room. Okay, seriously, it's still quite strikingly apparent if you choose to do this, especially as these generative AI video making platforms apply their own branding and logos to the slop art that you try to pass off as your own. Whew, okay, that was a bit longer of a section in this video than I originally thought it would be, but let's move on to something that won't be too much time to talk about, maybe. Social media. Use it. I know a lot of people aren't fans of using social media, and in many ways I do understand why. However, for musicians wanting to be serious about their stuff in the modern day, I think it's imperative that you use it, and it's what drives music forward nowadays. Now, for some quick technical clarification, all of my full-length videos that I upload, they reside on YouTube in the 16:9 or horizontal aspect ratio. All of my shorts and the preview cuts of my full videos go out on YouTube Shorts and pretty much every other social media in the 9:16 or vertical aspect ratio. Most social media has adopted the 9:16 format for the shorts, reels, TikToks, whatever you want to call this format. That's the game now. Don't waste the chance to play it. Another big point I'll stand on for musicians using social media is simply that you'd be surprised at where you might see things go. Looking beyond my local scene here in Denver, another silver lining I've seen in this grind is seeing people from all over the world reach out to chat about things that I've posted for my portfolio be it on YouTube or anything else on social media. And I cherish this just as much as people who say they come to shows because of my video work. Now, you don't have to come up with like a full-blown plan for the type of content you post regularly to promote yourself. You can always just post your portfolio clips in a different cut fashion. But I've always found that engaging with social media as a musician with some modicum of intent with what I do goes a long way for finding new things to do in the world of music. But of course, while I say that musicians should definitely use social media as a career advancement tool, please use it responsibly. I think social media can be a suitable place to discuss things like the state of your scene in a level-headed and grounded fashion, but definitely always also consider that how you choose to phrase and act with your social media posts can have unintended consequences. Or to make this a little more TLDR, keep in mind that you and me are always one social media post away from royally f***ing things up for yourself. I'm going to hold on the T specifically, but let's just say I've sat witness to some social media happenings that have done irreparable damage to even local musicians that no amount of high-level musicianship can walk you out of. To further that last point, there are people locally that I have stopped playing with or have refused to consider playing with to begin with solely because of some weird conduct they get up to on social media. Thinking before posting is something I really like to stick to, because at the national and local levels, stuff on social media does have a tendency to still travel around IRL. You know what, I'll take another dig here. If your social media posting, especially as a musician, also involves you posting AI art slop, oh, do I go rushing to find the unfollow button expeditiously. Okay, so I've talked about building a catalog of videos and getting out there on social media responsibly. However, we've created a new problem. You now have a ton of web links pointing all over the place on the internet. So we need one link to rule them all. Thankfully, link and bio platforms have been around for a while, and whenever I go around on social media posting, creating, or responding to advertisements, this is a link that I always have at the ready. There's quite a few of these that you could use, and all for free too. There's Hoobie, Link.bio, Tap.bio, Beacons, among others. Personally, I've just been a fan of Linktree for the longest time, as I felt Linktree's free features are just plain Jane enough for me to keep my portfolio concise and readily viewable for people who want to come back to it. And if I haven't put it on screen already, here's what my Linktree looks like at the time that I'm recording this video. You see I've got my profile picture, a short and sweet written bio, all of my social media links up top, and then I've got everything else I wanted to include split into some categories. Oh, and hey, look, I've got a link to a YouTube playlist of some of my live performance work on video, as well as my most recent video on YouTube. Hopefully, with what I've been discussing here, you could see the vision starting to come together here. Another thing I've been really proud to include in my Linktree is just this little slideshow featuring pictures and testimonials from past bandmates that I really loved working with, admittedly because I pestered them into writing something for me. Unfortunately, nothing lasts forever, and great band projects will eventually fade out. But if you manage to end things on good terms, it certainly wouldn't hurt for you to ask those bandmates to write something nice for you and slap some pictures in there too to add into your portfolio. My Linktree is my musician portfolio in its final form, because everything that I want to show people about me as a musician, it's right here. And it's the gateway to how I present myself online in the most professional way that I can. Well, as a musician, that is to say the standard maybe is a little bit lower here. And all right, I want to talk about not so much something to include in your musician portfolio itself, but some of the ways that you can advertise yourself to your local scene and the world once your portfolio is good to go. In my view, Facebook, despite its age, continues to do something really well with the groups feature, where of course you can join in and congregate around shared interests with other people. I guarantee wherever you are in the world, and if Facebook is available to you, or whatever its equivalent may be, type in your city or region name plus music scene, and find the most relevant groups with the most amount of people in them, and join them. Some Facebook groups can be a little more specialized depending on the types of bands and other music projects you might be looking for. Most of these that I've seen are distinguished by genres of music, say Denver metal scene, but even still in a more generalized sense, there are things like Denver Music Match and Denver Musician Finder that are actual Facebook groups and have always been helpful if I'm looking for a new project or for recruiting other personnel to join an ongoing project. Oh, and before I hear anyone out there say, "Oh bro, who even uses Facebook anymore?" Shut up. I'm only 30. Don't make me feel that old yet. Using Facebook as a musician is still very useful. Then there's Craigslist. I want to do a whole video about Denver music and Craigslist ads that I will get around to at some point, So please do let me know if you want to see that. But nonetheless, Craigslist is still quite popular as it has its own category for musicians to post in. I know I've been in there posting plenty times before. And even amongst ad reposts, it feels as if you can find something new being listed for musicians every day in there. Advertising yourself on other social media platforms is never a bad idea, and I still do it elsewhere. But for me, it's always seemed like Facebook and Craigslist have been the best spots that I've advertised in, even as flawed as they are. Now, when it comes to putting yourself out there as a musician, why don't we go through another set of do's and don'ts I think are important to note for successfully advertising yourself and landing your next big music project. When you advertise yourself as a musician, do identify yourself. Attach your name to your work and ads, and take some pride in who you are. Even if you have to start small, because quite frankly, we are all starting small at some point. Beyond any portfolio materials that you may present to show your musicianship, even if it's good, I'm still definitely checking elsewhere on possible collaborators to just really find out if someone's a good person to work with or not. Don't post anonymously. Unfortunately, I see this quite often both with Facebook and Craigslist, where people just write ads with very little text, and then worse yet, particularly on Facebook, they flip on the participate anonymously switch. Okay, this next bit, I just want you to know I wrote this in the script in all caps, but seriously, why would you do this? It is downright aggravating to read your ad because I have no idea who you are alongside the little amount of text that you wrote for your ad, and congrats, you have done nothing to further yourself as a musician because no one knows who you are posting this, so why would they contact you? And now I am here clowning on these low effort posts in a video. As much as I will wax poetic about how much I love Sleep Token, they are very much an exception to being anonymous and successful as musicians. I'm sorry, the vast majority of musicians in a number of ways can't afford to put on some sort of anonymous mystique and try to push themselves further. I've already kind of spoken to this, but do be detailed and thorough in your ad postings, because a couple lines of text just does not cut it. Tell the reader about you and what you can do, and point them to where to find your videos on your portfolio to back what you say up. This is also a good way in time to set some boundaries of not just the type of music that you're willing to work with, but anything else that kind of comes along with that, especially on the people side. I do this every time I'm advertising myself as a musician because it helps to weed out projects that are damn well not worth my time to consider. Even more so on the side of being detailed, if an ad for a music project asks for specific things that they're looking for experience in, such as when I ask other musicians if they are using in-ear monitors consistently, do address those things in your responses to an ad posting. Pretty please? When I put together an ad for a music project and all I get in response is drummer, bassist, guitarist here, or whatever other ist you are for your instrument, to me this just easily signals that you probably only read the title of the ad and not any of the finer details therein about any of the specific things that we might be looking for. Always bear in mind, different music projects are going to have different technical needs, and if someone takes the time to lay those things out, you should be addressing those yourself when you respond to that. Do create an email address specifically for your musician endeavors. It's a small thing, but it does help filter down to what you want to focus on specifically with music. Don't withhold stuff. This is another trend I've seen of people making ad postings saying, oh, I have links and videos of me performing that I can send if you're interested. No! The time for you to include that is in the body of your advertisement, right at the very top of whatever you write before you hit publish. And if not that, at least post your relevant links in the comments of your ad posting and pin it there if you can, depending on whatever platform you're on. Do give people something to look at with your ad postings. Now, in many ways, we as humans evolved to be deeply visual beings, though I can't say I'm the most exciting guy to look at, but I still include pictures of me both here in the studio and while playing out live in my ad postings to show that I am still very much a real person interested in bettering myself as a musician. Even better, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not having done this a lot sooner myself, try putting a video ad together for you as a musician. I've found doing video ads just to be fantastic for myself, and it's something I'm definitely going to do more of as needed. And if you present it in a cheery and happy way, I think you're going to get some good responses out of it. While I've really gone hard in this video about building a musician portfolio and all the assets thereof to post online, do consider creating some physical media to hand out too. Let me reach over my shoulder here, let me grab these. Best solution for this, business cards. Mine has a QR code that directs people to my link tree, and so they're getting the online portfolio that way too. Getting some business cards after saying I was going to do it for the longest time was definitely one of the best purchases I've made in the last year for my own music adventure, and it was like 20 bucks through Vistaprint for 100 of these. And if you take the time to design a memorable and badass looking business card, people will love receiving it as much as you'll love giving it to them in person. Oh, you know, I'll take one last swipe here. My business card also features art that was made entirely by a human being. And that's going to do it for this video, everybody. This was certainly one of the most passionate and cathartic things that I've written for YouTube in quite some time. And aside from how overtly crass I was throughout this whole video, I do genuinely hope that you, any musicians who chose to watch this, found something useful that you can use in your own portfolio to push yourself forward as a musician. If anyone has any possible recommendations about any additional items that may be worth including in a musician portfolio, certainly I would love to hear from you in the comments about that. It's simply one of those things where knowledge is power, and the more knowledge that we have on this topic, the better we can be as musicians and not write terrible ad postings on social media. So let's put a pause on the long form video fun train for the time being. I've got some covers I need to get back to working on, and also plenty more fun videos to continue planning out as well. Thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you in the next video.